Right, let us begin. I've recorded a lap at Sonoma Raceway in a custom-made GR86 on Assetto Corsa. It's supposed to replicate how a stock class GR86 behaves, but I think it's still a little bit off, and then obviously a simulator is never going to be like the real thing. So um, let's just look at the lap first. It's turn 2. It's turn 3. Turn 3A. Turn 4. Turn 5. Turn 6. Turn 7, the double apex. Sorry, I forgot to say, turn 6 is also known as the carousel. This is turn 7, the double apex. Heading into turn 8, the S's. Now we're in turn 9. Turn 10. And then finally turn 11, the hairpin. Okay, so you may have noticed that this is not exactly an earth-shattering lap. This is a pretty straightforward lap, and I made this specifically for people who are going to their first track day at Sonoma, or maybe even their second, and not necessarily looking to shave time, but just looking to have a fun and safe learning experience. So let's go over this turn by turn, and we're going to see what exactly I'm doing to mitigate risk at each turn. It's not about going fast necessarily, right? I mean, you still want to learn how to drive your car. That's the whole point of an HPDE, but we don't want to go fast by just risking things. Okay, so step 1, I started off pretty close to this wall. And you might say, I was getting close to a wall mitigating risk. It's because opening up this entry makes it easier for me to take this turn. And you can see, again, I get close to this wall again, and you might say, why is that? And it's because I want to open up this turn right here. That's what all of this is for. What you don't want is to enter narrow here and then have to make a hard left here. So you can see that it kicks really sharp uphill to the left here, which means that if you try and flick the car to the left, it'll actually obey you, and then you might actually spin. So there's actually a hard bump right here underneath the banner. So if you come in too narrow, too tight. So for example, some people in grippier cars, they might hug this wall, scrape this wall, right, come in really tight, and then they kind of flick the car to the left here. If you try to do that in a stockish GR86, you're probably going to spin. In fact, I almost spun there, despite using a very wide line. You can see I almost spin. I have to kind of correct here. So one more time, stay close to this wall, wide arc, don't get close to this wall. Again, close to this wall, gently coast into turn 2. And you can see I jab the brakes and downshift to 3rd here. So jab the brakes in a straight line, down to 3rd, and then I missed both the curb on the left and also this curb on the right here. If you try to gas over this curb on the right, you're probably going to spin the car. And again, if you try to brake over this crest, again, you're probably going to spin the car, which is why I'm on the gas, right? But I'm missing this curb, and I'm kind of keeping the car in control purely with the steering. and then I let the car track out to the left here. It's fine to use this curve is not going to bite you. But you want to target eventually using the full width of the track here, because in third gear especially, you need all the momentum you can get. Alright, I'm going to carry as much speed as we can into turn 3, and you'll see that this is a downhill and then an uphill, a very steep uphill. So I'm going to coast into this downhill, and I'm going to use this compression to help me turn the car and get really far to the left here. So you can see I'm pretty much aligned with this yellow line, so it's kind of a late apex, but the real reason I'm doing this, it's not to gain a better exit, it's to open up this next turn here, turn 3A. And if you open this turn up, you get a massive exit out of turn 3A. And if you're confident enough to trust this blind crest and get all the way to this curb, yeah, I mean, you're carrying 75-ish miles an hour out of this turn. So notice how there were no brakes involved with turn 3 or turn 3A. Just a big lift, or partial lift actually, a big lift in turn 3 and a partial lift in turn 3A because I got such a great line into turn 3A. And I'm hard on the gas once I'm confident. And then we approach turn 4. Now turn 4, you can see from here, kind of goes downhill a bit, which means that your fronts are going to lose a little bit of grip. And what that means is that you have to do your rotation in advance. And you only get on the gas when you're confident that you'll make it. You don't want to get on the gas too early. So I think some people, what they might do is over slow at this point, and then they get on the gas early, like over here, because they know they've overslowed. Well, the problem with that is you now have no front grip left. And so even though you think you're going slow, you're going to end up understeering. Well, not necessarily off the course, but it's going to cause understeer. So get on the brakes, trail that brake off. You see how I'm trailing all the way to here? And then I coast. And I gently get on the gas. I'm not using that inside curb, but I am using this curb. So this is a little bit of a late apex, specifically because this turn is effectively tighter than it looks. You don't have much front grip right here. This is where it drops off. So you need to have your rotation done before then. And I have traction control and stability control on, so you didn't see me do any like body English. I didn't like flick the car or anything, right? I'm just using that weight transfer from the brakes, and then I'm not abusing the fronts by getting on the gas too hard. Then we come to turn 5. We're going to try and stay inside as much as we can, but we're probably going to end up tracking out a little bit. And you can see, because I ended up tracking out more than I wanted to, I'm trying to get back to the right here, and I end up facing this way. But then as I go over the hill, as I get over the hill, now I'm facing this way, right? So this is a correction on my part. The reason for that is I am braking right over the crest, and I want to be braking in a straight line. As a beginner, that's your #1 priority usually. So you're braking hardish in a straight line, and you want to enter a little bit narrow. You don't want to be on this very edge over here. There's really no purpose to doing that in a long turn like this. So to be able to, I'm aiming for that entry point, which is like probably somewhere over here. And to do that, I had to correct. So if you find yourself facing straight or even to the right a little bit, just prioritize getting the car pointed a little bit to the left and then braking over the crest. And then trail a little bit into the crest. Play with that gas a little bit. Notice how I'm still in 4th. I haven't gone down to 3rd. I don't think it's necessary until you're really pushing pace. And if you are really pushing pace, actually 4th becomes better because you're carrying more speed. But the point is, you can carry quite a bit of speed into this if you get the trailing right and the coasting. Don't use too much gas. It's probably going to cause either some sort of sliding, and this is all about maintaining momentum and getting a great exit. And you can see that there's actually quite a lot of cambering in, which means that you have more grip than you realize here probably. So you can see me, playing with that steering, and I actually end up exiting a little bit tight. I think the more optimal exit would be somewhere around here. And at the bottom of this, there's a little compression, and I use that compression to get to be able to turn the steering wheel more. Now in the sim, there's not a lot of front grip, so I end up going a little bit tight. I think in real life, you might find yourself carrying so much speed that you actually end up somewhere over here, and that's fine. Again, you're prioritizing getting a great exit without burning the fronts. You don't want to, how do I say this? Scrub the fronts too much, and you also don't want to spin, right? So if you find yourself all the way over here, that's fine. Just make sure you're loosening up the steering wheel as you exit here. You don't want to be facing like 45 degrees to the right here and then having to do all your turning at once. Going into turn 7, braking at the 250 mark, getting down to third. Trail brake into the first apex, late apex the second one. So let's watch that one more time. So brake in a straight line at the 250 mark, and then I downshift into third. Right, and then I trail. The trail braking is important here. You might get unsettled by this bump here, but just don't hit that curb and you should be mostly fine. And then notice how two things happen here. One is that I get close to, well, three things. I get close to this curb without hitting it. I'm late apexing it, which means that I'm not going out into this grass here. I'm kind of straightening it out so I can get a great exit this way. And then the last thing is you have to loosen up the steering as you exit. So notice how I'm gradually able to loosen up that steering. So those are the ingredients to a great double apex. That might be probably the one of the hardest turns on Sonoma to get right, because it's quite technical and bumpy and slow, and all of those things add up to a tough corner. But it's also the corner that's probably the safest in terms of, I mean, you're going slow enough, and there's not any walls around here. So it's also the corner that you could probably experiment with the most. So it's a great place to practice, rotating the car on the throttle if you're comfortable with that. It's a great place to practice trail braking. Yeah. Okay, we're entering the S's now. We open up the S's by using this curve on the left. We don't bump those curves on the right. Use this curve. Use the end of this curve. And then we get all the way over to this curve. So the name of the game with the S's is be conservative on entry, committed in the mid corners, and tight on exit. So what does that mean? So conservative on entry means I'm opening this up as much as I can, and I'm not using much steering input on entry, right? But look how tight I am on exit. I'm not kind of swinging out on exit, and the reason for that is because the exit of one S is the entry to the next S, right? So by being tight on the exit of one S, I'm now able to open up the entry to the next one. So that allows me to be cautious on the next one, right? And you'll see that I'm not braking at all. Instead, I'm lifting on entry, lifting and coasting. You don't want to be lifting and coasting mid-corner. That might unsettle the car, right? So if you're going to lift, if you're going to slow down, do it before the S, and ideally do it without the brakes. Try to get a feel for the car and how it behaves without brakes. Okay, and same thing again, I'm tight on exit, and that allows me to get this great line into the final S. So I use that curve, and then, so here's a little bit of a dangerous point. So this is a blind crest, and over here you might say, oh my god, I have no idea where this road is going, and you might be tempted to hold this line, right? But the thing is, the S's are over now, right? There's no S over here. So if you try to add too much steering, so it's a little bit of a downhill and a little bit of an uphill. If you try to add too much steering here, you might actually end up spinning here. So you need to trust that this S is over now, and it's pretty much just, you just need to let the car track out to the left here. Just let the car track out to the left here. Don't overuse the steering there. You can use it a little bit to make sure you don't end up in the grass. That'll allow you to carry a lot of speed, especially once you start going faster. But you should have a good idea of where that curve on the left is when you're approaching that blind crest. You shouldn't panic and add too much steering. Okay, turn 9, I think you can just take it easy. The main priority with turn 9 is stay in 4th, don't go to 5th, And then when you start braking, you want to be as close to this curb as you can get without being on it. So you can see when I'm braking, I'm tangent to this curb, but I'm braking in a straight line. And I roll onto the brakes. I don't jam the brakes because I just finished a turn and it's not fully settled yet. So I kind of partially hit the brakes. And then I coast, and then when I'm confident that I'll be able to complete this turn, I get hard on the gas. You can see that the reason I was so confident, I mean, look at this. I have like an entire car width to the left of me, right? Hard braking here. You can get it down to third. So the braking point here, so you can see there's a dip here, right? Dip, and there's a second set of cones. Somewhere between here is going to be your braking point. I think I actually braked slightly too late. So maybe just after the dip right here would be the braking point. Get it down to third. Try to stay as wide as possible without hitting this wall, obviously. Gradually turn it in. Apex, it's a kind of a late apex at these second set of tires. And you can use this curb to get on the gas harder because it's going to allow you to rotate the car more, but just be cautious of that. The more you use the gas, especially with traction stability off, the more the car is going to want to spin. And then as you add gas, just loosen up the steering. I left a little bit of margin here as well. Don't deliberately try to end up near the wall. Instead, you should think about gradually loosening up the steering and adding gas such that you end up near the wall. That's the lap. Okay. So this was a 157.5. I think this car is unrealistically fast because that's pretty much the stock class record. I can definitely go a lot faster than that. So take this for what you will. We'll just look at it from an external view and I'll just commentate in real time. So 1 second. Here we go. So this is exactly the same lap. We're just going to look at it from an external view. So turn 1, start near the wall, miss this inside wall, end near the wall. Easy on the gas, no brakes here. Brake in a straight line down to third. Don't use this curve. You can use this curve. Try to track out wide. Carry as much speed as you're willing to. No brakes here either. Just coast. Hold left. No curve. No brakes here. Just a partial lift. Try to track out. Hard braking. Down to third. Oh wait, I think we were already in third. Stay in third. No need to use second there. Make sure you're pointed left over the crest. Easy on the gas through here. Just modulate fourth gear. Try to exit as hard as you can. You might be able to exit much harder than you want. Brake somewhere between the 300 and 200. Down to third. Trail brake. Don't hit that curb. Late apex, loosen up the steering as you hit the gas. Open up the entries, commit through mid-corner, tighten up your exits. No brakes, just lifts. Trust this crest. Turn 9, get into a good spot for braking. Be confident before getting on the gas in turn 10. Brake after the dip. Your maximum rotation should be in the middle. Apex at the second set of tires. Wheels on the curb if you're willing to do that. And then, yeah, I stayed in third through that hairpin. Second might be possible, but it would be a spin risk. And that's a lap.